Hi guys, X-Forts here, and welcome to Chainsaw Man Chapter 100 review and discussion, getting into the triple digits now, so congrats Fujimoto, let's hope for 100 more. But to get right into the chapter, a bit of a different pace this week, slower, character-focused, building out the cast, as well as delving into the emotional struggles of Asa, which is setting a new tone for Chainsaw Man Part 2, but honestly, I think this is the most well-written chapter we've had so far out of the three new ones. I really liked it, and I'm really excited to break it down. So starting with the chapter title, How to Walk Shoeless. And as soon as I read that, the first thought I had is that that is such a movie title for a teen drama or even like a coming of age, which may have been the intent as this chapter kind of feels within that genre. So we jump straight into the assignment given at the end of the last chapter, which is the devil hunting tryouts, where our group has 1 week to produce a dead devil, which shouldn't be too hard considering within their group they probably have the two strongest devil hunters in the entire school, besides Chainsaw Man of course, but they have War Devil and Yoshida, so assignment shouldn't be too hard, which alludes a little bit to the mystery behind Yoshida's true intentions at school, as if he really wanted to, he could probably complete this assignment in 30 minutes. So we'll just have to wait and see when they encounter a devil, if he plays dumb or holds back his power, to see more into his true motives. As even if he is just a student, which he very well could be, it just seems like a waste of time for him to be at the devil hunting club doing these menial assignments when he is already a private devil hunter. So this activity could be related to Denji, or a completely different assignment from higher-ups or Kishibe. But back into the chapter, we can see our group patrolling the hallways of school sort of after hours, seeing if there's any devils hiding in any of the unused classrooms, as Yuka, who is the new character, remarks, could a devil really be inside our school? As she is standing right next to one. And this is probably alluding, a little bit of comedy, but also alluding to that there's probably like a lot of hidden devils within the school, because we know Denji, War Devil, and Prez had contracted with the Justice Devil, so there's probably like a lot of mysteries going on here that will be unraveled. I really didn't say it on purpose, it just came up. But back on topic, also on this page we can see that Yuko and Asa are carrying devil hunting weapons, which are usually used for newer devil hunters, as we saw in part 1. For a majority of part 1, like the first half of it almost, up until like chapter 30, 32, Denji would carry around, not always, but he would use that axe that he was given at the beginning, sort of just like a devil hunting weapon. So we saw that Yuko's carrying an axe and Asa is carrying a sword. I'm sure Asa didn't want to reveal to everyone, I don't need a weapon, I'm the War Devil, I'm totally cool. So she's just kind of playing dumb, acting like she doesn't have any powers, holding that. And we see that Yoshida, because he is experienced, he's really good with hand-to-hand combat, as well as that he's contracted with devils. We don't see him holding a weapon in this chapter, so maybe he's not keeping that a secret, and if we encounter a devil, he'll show us what he's made of. But that's going to be about all of the devil talk for this chapter review, as we quickly jump inside of Asa's thoughts, which is a reoccurring element in part 2 if you didn't notice already. We're spending a lot of time in Asa's head, and not just with the conversation she has between War Devil, but how Asa thinks about herself and others, and how others think about her. As Yuko and Yoshida introduce themselves and bond over their shared interest in Chainsaw Man, Asa is reluctant to socialize, and not even because they're talking about Chainsaw Man, she's just tuned out, barely even able to say her own name, as she's caught up in these very introspective thoughts that tend to disconnect you from other people. I'm sure we've all felt that before, where we're with a group of people and everyone's socializing and everyone's talking, and then you start to think to yourself, I'm the only person not talking right now. Am I the only person thinking about how I'm not talking right now? Is anyone else? And then you're like, catch yourself for that whatever it is, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, where you're having that inner conversation with yourself. It puts up a wall that just completely disconnects you from the outside world. But the point is, Asa is experiencing what we call social anxiety, and it's something she's struggled with since we were first introduced to her, and was amplified tenfold when she was, framed for killing Bucky, and then that made all of her classmates hate her. So it looks like this struggle she has with these feelings of interacting with other people and wanting to escape is going to be an important part of her character, and a battle she's going to fight for probably a majority of the part. So thank you, Fujimoto, for yet another extremely relatable, self-insertable MC. In part 1, I want to touch boobs. In part 2, I have crippling social anxiety. As this is 2 chapters in a row now, we see Asa feel so sick to her stomach from this anxiety that she physically can't be around other people, whether it's in the middle of class or during their devil hunting assignment. As while the group is making their little chit-chat, Asa walks past some of her classmates who make a rude remark, and it just crushes her. So not only does she feel this strong sense of judgment and separation from her classmates, but now there's this whole issue of being misrepresented by War Devil, as it looks like it's a spreading rumor that she tried to ask out Yoshida. Because the girl said she shouldn't be trying to get a boyfriend, she should feel worse about what she did, so so there's like another layer of embarrassment. So Asa is just kind of getting dunked on with emotional abuse from all angles here. There's the whole dying and the War Devil being inside you. That's got to be a big component. There's also killing the class pet. Your class hates you. The War Devil's asking out random guys. You're getting partnered up with the random guys, so now it's all awkward. Just really not good for Asa lately, and she could use any sort of support to help her through this chaos, whether she's willing to admit it or not. And thankfully, whether Asa likes it or not, she is going to get that support, as this is where the new character Yuko comes in, who makes a really big impression. As she's awesome, she's the best, and I love her already in one chapter. So when Asa tries to leave school, she finds her sneakers covered in raw meat, a stunt pulled by her classmates, just, yeah, we still hate you. And her reaction is really sad. At first she's surprised, but then overcome with just this overwhelming hopelessness as she repeats the words, "I'm fine," over and over as she walks out barefoot. And from what we've seen in chapter 1, Asa often copes with her pain through denial, until she has the help to see a more realistic perspective presented by others that helps her see through the veil of her own cognition. As the whole time Asa had been trying to get away from people, Yuko followed her to make sure she was okay and eventually just needed to tell her the truth, yelling out, "You are not fine," something Asa really needed to hear, as this snaps her back into reality and she finally acknowledges Yuko, who this whole time had also been walking barefoot, and offers one of her shoes to Asa. And this one gesture of kindness is such a deep insight into Yuko's character, how she's compassionate and selfless, willing to endure the pain of someone she barely knows if it means it might help them hurt a little less, or just show that they're not alone. And with offering Asa one of her shoes, it goes beyond just sympathy, but also self-sacrifice, showing that she will make things harder for herself to make someone else's fight easier. And I'm sure later on we will see all of these qualities displayed in her devil fighting as well. But goddamn it, Fujimoto, I can just already see Yuko getting the Himeno treatment, with this panel right here specifically being repeated as her like dying words or whatever. So I really like Yuko so far, and I hope her selflessness gets her some positive karma and doesn't, have her wind up dying where she sacrifices herself from someone else. It's played out, keep this character alive, but thankfully that is not a concern for today. So looking more into Yuko's character, she's also pretty clever and understands people, as she realizes Asa isn't easily willing to accept help. So by offering just one of her shoes, she knows that Asa will be stubborn enough to chase her all the way back home just to tell her she doesn't want her help. And that's exactly what she does in this super wholesome scene of the two running in pain together, with Yuko running for the sake of helping Asa and Asa running for the sake of denying the help. And by the end of their chase, when they reach Yuko's house, she gives Asa the other sneaker. And when Asa still says no, she changes the context, saying, "Okay, if you don't want to wear them, you could sell them or throw them away. Do whatever you want with them, I don't care." So this way, Asa can now justify taking the sneaker because it wasn't offered for the sake of easing her pain or for helping at all, which is just a small piece of dialogue, but really huge for further developing Asa and how she thinks. And this brings us to the end of the chapter, where we see Asa has finally accepted the sneakers and put them on, even if she couldn't do it in front of Yuko, and calls War Devil an idiot when she asked if they should sell the sneakers, which is just the cherry on top of this chapter to show that Yuko was able to make an impression on Asa and teach her a lesson, while War Devil understood nothing of what just happened and the reasoning behind Yuko's actions, showing the disparity in humanity between the two, which may be key in getting the upper hand on War Devil. But like I said at the beginning of this video, really just a brilliant chapter this week. I know some people may read this chapter and think it was slow or boring or nothing happened, and I will say it's less eventful from what people might be used to from part 1 of Chainsaw Man, especially if you binge the manga in just like a day. But it's chapters like these that are most important because they make you care about these characters when the action comes, which increases your emotional investment in the characters and the story and helps create real tension. And it's a lot of the stuff we saw in this chapter that turns like a pretty good manga into a great manga. And I would like to believe Chainsaw Man Part 2 will be a great manga. I have confidence. So post-chapter discussion, I don't have much. I think I fit pretty much a lot of the things I wanted to talk about in between the pages here during the overall review. Just one thing I want to mention. So Fujimoto has said before that he wanted people to expect something different from Chainsaw Man Part 2, or that it was going to be different, substantially. So now that we see Part 2, we still have devils and demons and blood and gore and fighting and relatable characters, and a lot of the stuff fundamentally is the same. So I'm thinking like, what is like the main thing that's going to be different here? And I think it's the way he's going to be telling the story. So far, Part 2 reminds me more of like an Asano work than like Part 1 Chainsaw Man, if you get that. Like, I've been reading Pun Pun again. I actually have it right here. I'm like, I don't know, a quarter through volume 3. And like, When you're reading an Asano work, like, you're inside that character's head. You have every thought that they have pretty much, and it's a lot of those introspective thoughts and just like them thinking about the world. I don't know. It reminds me of his one-shots too, like Look Back and Goodbye Eri, and more of the personal elements between characters. So I think that is where part 2 is going to differentiate itself from part 1, is going to be the storytelling, like we saw in this chapter. I don't know, it's more like drama, coming of age stuff with like a devil backdrop. Could be wrong, but who knows. And last thing I want to mention was just like a what if I had in my head like throughout the week. So when the last chapter review came out, I like how a lot of like the people's like titles were like, where's Denji? Is Denji coming back? Denji's back, like in the thumbnail or whatever. I thought it would be funny if it's like, what if we don't see Denji until chapter 40 or like 35? People are expecting Denji every other chapter now. I love how unpredictable it is. We could see Denji next chapter. It could be a while from now. So I'm not really worried about when Denji's showing up. I really like what is going on with Asta right now. And I'm just going to roll with the flow. So I just imagine that, guys. People would be pissed, but it would also be like a different dynamic if Chainsaw Man was just this element in the background. We hear news about him. Chainsaw Man did this. Chainsaw Man did that. But it's just like, or we see him every now and then, but we just don't know what Denji's doing. That would be very interesting. All right, thank you guys so much for watching chapter 100 review and discussion. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Please sub. Although there's probably not a lot of you guys left here at the end of the video. Anyways, all right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm out. Peace. See you next week.